Okay, you guys, not to humble brag, you've been on my FYP from day one.
Girl.
Like, I've seen you in these streets since day one. You guys have definitely seen her on TikTok. And you bring out a very strong emotion in me. And that's what videos are for, making someone feel something. Sometimes I want to kick you in the shin. Sometimes I want to strangle you up until the point of death and then being like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You're so fucking talented, so fucking funny. Everyone give it up for Sabrina Brier.
Hello. Hannah and I are matching. So this is a really big moment for us.
We're both wearing white because we got a little bit of vitamin D for the first time ever and suddenly think that we're in Saint-Tropez.
We think we're in Saint-Tropez. We're angels. We're like angels who came from heaven. Virgins.
Yes.
Absolutely. To Saint-Tropez.
Angelic, innocent virgins on the beach. But we're actually in rainy, humid New York City.
We are.
Are you from Connecticut originally?
I'm from Connecticut.
Obsessed.
Which is really unique of me. Really exotic. Yeah, it's something that when I tell people, it stops them in their tracks. I'm from a suburb outside of New Haven.
Okay.
Pizza capital.
Oh.
Which is like, I know you're a New Yorker, so we don't have to open up this can of worms.
No.
It will have been, honestly, if we fight about this, it'll be the third time I fought with someone
I've had this conversation before, and I feel like they're like, oh, there's like a couple places that are really good. And it's close enough to New York that I believe them.
Totally.
Because it's
People
obviously
get
a New Yorker
really
that moved.
up in arms about it.
Yeah, it's not like a New Yorker moved there and did it, I think.
Probably. It's, it's like in this Italian area of New Haven. I mean, New Haven pizza really is amazing, but
yeah, you're not from the South bragging about your pizza.
So true.
Do you think it's a conspiracy theory that New York pizza is good because of the water? Did you think I was going to ask you this today?
Well, you know what I'm also thinking about, though, is that I feel people typically say that for the bagels.
Yes.
And the pizza.
Yes.
Do I think that could be
made up?
It never made sense.
Is it like that there's rat people living underground making the bagels?
What is this water we're talking about? Is it like magical water? Like, what about the water?
It's like, is there just enough bad, gross Hudson bacteria of like dead people that they used to throw in the Hudson, like mafia stuff? I could say that I'm half Italian.
Right.
Is that what's in our bagels?
By the way, I want to say I love how you take this you take this violent angle with metaphors, and it really it sends shivers down my spine, and I really am into it because you're keeping me on my toes because I'm like at any moment I'll either say the wrong thing or she might kill me.
This is a Connecticut girl and a Brooklyn girl hanging out.
Yes. I'm like, oh, you're so.
See, I love fear. I smell fear. I love it, and I embrace it, and I want to turn you. Like by the end of this, you're gonna like have a face tattoo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love to be kind of like strong-armed and domineered in any situation I can be. So
I'm obsessed with this. But I do have to say, you've been strong-arming and domineering my TikTok algorithm. But I have to say, you come up with so many creative ideas for types of friends. When did you decide that this was going to be the content you wanted to focus on for this time in your life?
Great question.
I'm Barbara Walters.
Really? Okay, yeah. But yes. So yes. When I started out, the first time I went viral, which was I guess like 2 summers ago, it was a very New York-y type of content that I was going viral for. And I repeated that.
Like girl who moved to New York.
Yes. Like I was really focusing on that in the beginning. It was kind of interesting this is the beginning. I'm just learning how to put myself out there, just learning what it is I want to put out there. And there were definitely a lot of people who didn't realize I was kidding, which is fine.
Which
that
means
it was satire.
You should win an Oscar.
Thank you so much.
But you are like you're so good at it that I have questions to ask.
For sure. And we'll get into that. And you're not the only one to ask.
It's giving method actor to another level.
Yes. And do I even really know the answer? Maybe not. But that was the beginning.
Some days you're just a huge bitch and you're like, I'm practicing my art.
Yeah. It's called my craft. Don't come for me. And so that was kind of in the beginning I was doing the New York content because I could just see that I was tapping into something. And then I think eventually when I got more comfortable and felt more like, okay, I'm going to kind of do a little bit more of what fuels me, then it turned into, I mean, it was kind of like, I feel like I was kind of focusing on the dating stuff and the boy crazy stuff at first. And then eventually I kind of ran out of it, and it really was just friends that to me is just this endless gold mine. And it's also just a reflection of my life right now. You know, I have a million of the most amazing, like incredible women who I'm surrounded by. And I really just feel so grateful about it on a daily basis. And they, you know, we talk about career and we talk about dating, and we're frustrated, and we're, you know, that's what I'm drawing from is either their experience or my experience or someone we know or something that could happen or some kind of ugly feeling that we feel as we go about life in our 20s in New York and all the ways it's difficult. So I don't know, sometimes it really is just a genuinely frustrated, sometimes angry, bitter feeling that my friends are discussing, that the best way to kind of, you know, feel cathartic about it is to laugh about it and make fun of ourselves.
Okay, that was so well said.
Girl.
Literally,
okay, stop.
Interview's done. She hit every single point.
Goodbye.
No, that's amazing because I feel like friendship is so complex, and the concept of being a good friend, people will throw it around. They're like, you're my friend, you're not my friend, you're a good friend, you're a bad friend. When there's so many complexities about it.
Yes.
Because everyone has friends that like on paper are such shit friends, but you love them so much because they're authentically them, and you're like,
and because
we've known
they
her
love
since second grade, and they love you. Like, there's so many complications.
Yeah.
I remember I was in a situation where like people would play, and it was like they were too old to do this, but they'd be like, "Yeah, you're not a good friend," and I'm like, "What friend rule book are you playing
Are we
from?"
reading the same book? Yeah,
literally. And then also, it's like it is like love languages. Like my best friend, me and Paige, we I think are such good friends because we're not sensitive people. Where like if she calls me, like I could literally have the most important thing happening to me, and she's like, "I can't do it. Like I can't be there for you." I understand her because I know where she's coming from. She loves me.
And there's just total transparency.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be like, and now I can't trust you ever because you got a UTI.
And I'm going to remember this. And I'm going to remember this. And this is going in your file.
And then there's some friends, I was talking about this recently, where something happens, drama with them, and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't handle that right. I can't, she's so mad at me. And I have like a phobia of friends being mad at me. But then you'll see her do it to like 10 other people, and you're like, oh no, this is her thing.
Yes.
She's testing me.
Yes.
And yeah, there's no friend rule book. So I wrote down some really good ones for people to understand if they aren't that familiar with your content.
Okay.
I did some of the work. ET phone home. Oh wait, where is it? Sabrina. Well, the New York Times wrote an article about you, which is like classy as shit.
Oh my God. Classy as
Were your
shit.
parents like, did they cut it out? Did they like put it on the fridge?
Yes, it's like
they showed everyone at the bagel shop.
The New York Times. Parents love the New York Times. I love the New York Times now. I'm just kidding. I liked it before. I'm like, well, now
can parents
I heard of
see
them.
the tiny like script of the New York Times? Are they faking it when they read it?
They, you know,
I think they're cosplaying.
They're right. It's
because
like,
how is your phone like the script is so big, but then you're reading tons of little letters in the New York Times?
Like, it's like, did you guys read it?
Or that's why it took them 12 hours.
Look at the pictures.
Look at the pictures.
Look at the pictures.
Which are great. The photo shoot was so
Thank
cool.
Thank you so much. It was such an incredible, the photographer was amazing, and the journalist, we've become besties, and it was incredible and really surreal and kind of crazy. So
gratitude.
Thank you, NYT.
NYT. So they described you as sometimes like the character you play is the girl who bullied you in high school who's trying to be an influencer. That is such a loaded, complex, layered statement. Were you bullied at all as a kid? Or were you the bully?
I've had definitely mixed experiences. I was definitely, when I was a kid, like in elementary school, I was at a very small school. And
everyone's up in each other's business.
Exactly, where it's like 20 kids in the entire
like someone
grade.
farts and like the whole neighborhood hears it.
Everyone knows everything. Everyone is so bored because you have nothing to do but talk to each other. So, you know, like for example, my roommate who films a lot of my TikToks,
I was going to say she does a great job.
Mentioned in the article, and she is incredible, and she's a nurse. You know, we've been friends since that time. And like, I remember I used to go up to her like on the blacktop and be like, I'm mad at you today. Because I wanted to spice things up. So yes, you could consider me, I was certainly the drama starter for, you know, And then, but I did actually, when I was in middle school, the tables turned because I then went to public school and I brought that small school energy and it was not fitting. And then I got kicked out of like the popular group and was really crazily bullied.
Is
for
that
like
not
a
a
year.
canon event?
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes it's like, do you ever like have that thing too where you're like, how much weight am I allowed to put on certain things where I was so little? And like because I'm really good friends with a lot of the girls who bullied me at the time. And like, we'll kind of like joke, it'll come up and I'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, yeah. No, it was actually extremely traumatic and completely reversed my self-esteem, my sense of self. I've never been able to look at myself again about it. It was so fun. It was just 7th grade.
When you run into them later in life and they're like, oh, I never really meant that. And you're like, oh, you think that I've repeated into my mind every single day and chose a career based of trying to show you that I'm worthy. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so cute. That's so cute. One of my best friends was one of the bigger culprits in the event. And I remember one time we were like drunk and I was like, yeah, like honestly, ever since that happened, I, never really realized what it was like to look in the mirror and hate myself and find myself to be ugly until what you did to me. And then it really, changed things for me, but it's so fine.
Thank you for letting me see the world in a different perspective.
Yeah, and I'm like, but we're best friends now. It's so fine. I don't care.
I
it's so
feel
fine.
like you'll work with women in the workplace where you can tell like, oh, you destroyed people's lives in middle school.
Absolutely. That being said, though, I mean,
some people's lives
have been destroyed.
Should be destroyed.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but she said that. She said that we're like the two angels, but you're the devil, I'm the angel. But then we'll have some reversals.
No, but I like to say without rain, there's no flowers. That's my new thing.
No, that's so true. And I love that. I think that sometimes I feel like you meet people or you hear about people having had those, the bullying moments and being the perpetrators of that. And you're like, oh, but then you have people, you're like, oh, that's because like that was a time in your life when you were learning, you were so insecure by, how the boys made you feel and you were learning how to navigate being a girl, which is the scariest thing at that age.
A literal canon event.
So
and then
terrifying.
The girlies, we're not doing it at the same time. Like I have low mosquito bites. Some girl, honestly, if you have big tits, you're forced into popularity, I think. Like I remember guys would talk about some of my friends and like I don't see their boobs. I'm just like, she's kind of boring. Like I don't like hanging out with her, and they're obsessed.
Boobs,
They're obsessed with her, and like she walks, and I'm like, how do I be more like her? And she's sitting there just like twiddling her thumbs,
right?
And I don't realize it's because of her huge tits,
right?
And I'm like, should I sit like she said? Should I like?
How do I be
D's
that
in math like
and then
she does?
You get older and you realize you're like, I need to get a D. You're like, then you get older and you realize like it's not like it was all great for that girl either.
No, they didn't always want that attention. I remember one girl, these guys were like, all we do is wait for her to like stretch in class. Because she would like stretch back and like go like this and just like her boobs. I thought like that poor girl did not ask for that.
The things that these boys, now we're getting into trauma. The things that I literally went to a women's college because I said, no more.
Oh, so you're a feminist icon.
Thank you so much.
You're truly decentering men from your life, which is what I'm all about.
I definitely have been on that journey.
Are you engaged?
Oh, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm sorry, I'm breaking.
Because you are wearing
and I had this thought the other day where I had this ring here and I'm sweating all the time. And so my finger got so big that it got stuck.
Are men hitting on you so much that you need to wear this ring?
I do feel like I've been hit on a lot recently and maybe that's why.
Oh, like because you have a ring on.
Because people want what they can't have. And I'm getting married.
We're playing checkers, you're playing chess.
And I'm getting married. And when I tell you this was $20 from a boutique in Soho.
I do have to say, the wedding industry is so fucked up. Just go put 25 cents into one of those candy machines and put it on.
Well, let's see yours, queen.
I actually am not wearing my wedding ring because it's giving me a rash right now.
And so you're kind of tricking us about your status.
My husband's like, why don't you wear your wedding ring? I'm like, I'm not walking around like I'm single.
I'm like, so you haven't walked down the aisle yet, so there's still time for me to intercept. It's speak now era. Taylor Swift. I have this issue. I literally just did a podcast the other day. It wasn't about Taylor Swift at all. I said it was the can of worms. It was opened up. Someone said one thing. I couldn't stop my mouth from just saying all this information.
Some
about
people
her.
online have changed their whole content to like just be Taylor Swift right now.
It's wild.
I mean, like Jake Shane.
Yes.
Pussy passing. He's pass that puss. He is my Taylor Swift news now.
And he's good at, being like, I like how he will talk about specific songs, because I would rather have someone on my For You page be like, wait, can we talk about why don't we talk about this song? And why don't we talk about
then
this
just
lyric?
Repeating like generic things.
And we're talking about the tea. I'm like, the tea is interesting.
You have tricked me into talking about Taylor Swift right now.
See, let's stop. Unless it's if it's not a road we want to go down, we're gonna have to detour right now. Because when I tell you it won't stop, it's a disease. We have to stop it. Let's pin it.
It is literally like chickenpox as a kid, which is a canon event. It's funny. Going back to your stories of when you were younger.
Yes.
My story was I was like in a public school and everything was totally normal, like 6th, 7th grade. And I had like a good group of like 4 girlfriends who were like cool and funny and smart. And I'm like, I'm so lucky to have these girls in my life. But I was a tennis player. So I randomly got moved in 7th grade to go play tennis at this like school and then got thrown to Florida to play tennis. So I kind of just like disappeared out of their lives. Fast forward, leave the tennis academy in junior year. In half of junior year, I get thrown into Beacon on the Upper West Side. So I'm not even like the new kid for the beginning of the year. In the middle of the year, I'm just sitting in history class, raising my hand. Everyone's like, who is this bitch in the class? But I'm feeling cocky because guess who's at Beacon? My girlies from middle school are at Beacon.
And they're the popular girls?
I did not know that they've become like, and cool girls in New York City, how I explain it, like they're doing like intense drugs. They have tattoos everywhere.
They're terrifying.
They're terrifying. They're doing all these like charity things like in Honduras. And then they're also like
specifically
Honduras. And the Galapagos at one point they were going to. And they're also like dating like DJs and actors who are like 37. 30, they're like another level of
no, they're you see them on the subway and I all I want is their approval.
No.
Desperately.
And I remember being like, okay, the stars are aligning, and we were like in art class and I go, oh my God.
Girls.
Guess who's back, bitch?
I'm back, bitches.
They looked at me and they were like,
what was their react? What were they?
They were just kind of like,
did they let you back in or you had to work for it?
I was never fully accepted back in.
Why?
They were just, it's kind of like, we've worked really hard to get to this status in our life and you're gonna leave and then come back like nothing happened.
And reap the benefits.
Because basically like, they were friends with all like the hot guys and all this stuff and I just kind of was like, what's up guys? And they were just like, hey. And I'm like, bitch, we used to watch Rugrats together before school. Like I remember like when you got your first period. Like that stuff means stuff.
It means so much. And like, why, if I walk any person from like high school or whatever who maybe we've never talked, if I see them on the street, I'll be like, hi. And I'll be like, because I just feel so like, how do you not feel bonded to someone from like being a weird child?
But
with
also,
them?
I'm like, girl, like, you know me. Like,
yes.
You know my
and
middle
like,
school
and
shit.
I know you.
And I was like low key kind of like, I was loud, so I was like kind of the ringleader back in the day.
You're like,
so I was like, mommy's home.
Mommy went on a trip.
But I was
and mommy came back.
Like mom went to rehab for 7 years and she's back.
But mom is back and better than ever.
But
open
my thing
your
is,
doors.
I was a tennis player. Like I was not. I wasn't doing drugs.
And they were like, "This is punk.
This is punk."
Right.
And I like didn't understand. But that's where I also learned. There's a canon event where you have to decide: do I want to force friendships with people who clearly don't want to be friends with me
energy.
For whatever reason, or like lean towards the people I ended up being friends with, like the other athletes at Beacon who were like also funny and like they fit way better for me. But it was so weird walking down the hall and seeing these girls who like we'd literally take the train together from Park Slope. Yeah. And they'd be like, and then we'd get to school.
That's so weird.
And I was like, bitch.
And then I think too, you remember those moments. I always say, like, I hate that thing of like if you know someone, or sometimes I'll like if I go to an influencer-y thingy and there's someone, I'm like, I'm the worst influencer. But I'll go to a thing like that, and if it's like maybe I'll see someone and we don't follow each other. We never met. I'm not going to be like, who are you? I'm going to be like, I saw you on my page and I like your stuff. I like that. Like, that's how we talk.
Some girls are very good. Like, my friend Paige went to all girls, like, middle school and high school.
Formative.
But she's like, she knows the game. Like, a girl will say something to us, walk away, and I'll be like, she's so nice. And Paige would be like, she just insulted you to your face. And she, like, knows what's going on, and she knows how to play the game. I'm a Labrador retriever. Like, I'm just like, what's going on, guys? And she's like, just shut the fuck up for a second.
Right. She's like, have some tact. She's like, you're embarrassing.
I feel like me and you have had different experiences where, tell me if I'm wrong, where you've had this, like, friend group for a while.
Yes.
Where, like, I went to so many different schools that I was kind of just, like, had to figure it out everywhere I went. Actually, when I left my middle school from my girlies when I was, like, mother, and I left to go play tennis, that's when this was actually poly prep, which
I don't know what that means.
Poly prep is, like, it's a private school. And I went from, like, a public school in Brooklyn to private school because I got a tennis ride.
Different vibes.
Everyone has, like, money and they know each other since preschool. They've, like, been doing it. And I came in 7th grade. I'm turning this into all my childhood drama.
No, I want to hear it. Let's get into it.
And I get there and I knew some of the girls from, like, my elementary school, I think. Or, like, I played basketball with them or something. So I went in and I was like, okay, let's
kiki.
We're friends. Yeah. Let's kiki. Literally, that's what kids do. I'm like, I know you, you know me.
Let's have a play date.
So I walk in and I remember she goes, hey, so they're, like, the Fabulous Five. And she goes, and I'm next on the list. Me and this girl are next to become the Lucky Seven. I swear God's name.
Right,
this was during Mean Girls time. Like, the movie had just came out.
We were smack.
There's a name. So she basically was like, I like you, but, like, there's a whole, like,
she's
thing
like,
you have to do to get in.
There's an initiation.
Like, I literally was just like, I sat at the table and they were like,
okay,
I was like, I know this bitch.
I gotta say, I do feel that what you're saying, first of all, is wild. Second of all, I think it's New Yorkie. Like, I think and I also think, you know what?
I mean, Meryl Streep's daughter did go to that school. Like, it was, like, next level.
It's like people are probably trying to emulate the almost, like, New York socialite vibe. And also, it really is Gossip Girl's fault. That's
and
the
Mean
thing.
Girls.
And Mean Girls.
I remember we had to sit down in the gym like Mean Girls, then being like, hey, I know the movie Mean Girls came out.
But don't do it.
Don't do it. And we're like,
and
well,
also,
you're doing it.
The Click books.
Yes.
The Click books?
Yes.
Do you know Massey Block?
Yes.
I auditioned for, remember when there was, they did this thing for the Click, I really hope that this is resonating with someone out there, but they did this thing for when they were making the Click books into a movie, which the Click books, like, I ate those up and they changed me for the worst. Yeah. They really did at that time.
Not good.
And then the movie, Poison, Toxicity, Poison, but absolutely enjoyable. And then the audition, they were like, anyone can audition. And I said, this is my moment. I'm gonna be Massey Block. And I still remember, like, propping up like a digital camera in my room and being like, Claire, because that's how Massey talked. Like, Claire, those are the Yves Saint Laurent stickers that, like, lip thingies that I stickered in 17 magazine. And I was like, hi, I'm Sabrina, Connecticut, 5'6".
But you realize you're doing that now.
Well,
you manifested what you're literally doing now for yourself.
That's so true.
What's crazy about Meryl Streep's daughter? She actually was, like, above the Lucky Seven. Like, that was their own clique, and they like played tennis for fun, and I was, like, the tennis player, so she liked me. And I remember we were sitting on the bus together, and she started freaking out. She was like, I lost my Chanel. I guess it was, like, her earring, and everyone's freaking out. They're freaking out. The teacher called my mom and said, I just have to tell you what Hannah did yesterday. Apparently, I go up to the teacher, like, on the low and was like, what's a Chanel?
That is so... But, like, good for your parents.
I was like, what's a channel? Like, what are we looking for? I want to help.
But you're like, there has been an abduction of a child.
I thought a girl named Chanel was lost.
Chanel... She's from one of the other classes, and
Amber Alert.
And you said, girls, let's team together. We can do this.
I fully thought Chanel was a girl in science class. But also, how New York is it that the teacher thought it was adorable that
She was like,
an 8th grader didn't know what
she
Chanel
was like, Hannah. She was like, Hannah, you poor
uncultured
child.
swine. Also, how do the girls in school know who's rich or not?
Well, I feel like
do they know like what girls are wearing? Do their parents tell each other like be friends with Justine?
It's the same thing as now. Like everything is coded.
People
it's like
smell it.
Like the other day, someone said to me, "Do you ski?" I said, "No, I don't." And when they asked me that, I thought, "But now I know you, and now I know everything about you."
See, I'm so new to this stuff too because tennis
Not
is like
anti-skiing, guys. Don't come for me.
I mean, I am.
Okay.
Tennis, I had a ski injury. I'll never recover. I'm not going to talk about it. My hand's better now.
And she's an Olympic athlete.
I literally am.
If she can't do it, you can't. So stop.
Why?
Continue.
It's literally rich people are so bored to be like, I want to feel something. Let's slide down this icy hill just to feel alive for a second. And you can have my inheritance if I die, wrinkly.
Let's slide. Let's slide down this
it was
slippery
definitely
slope.
bored rich people. No person who's just struggling to survive was like, you know what would make today better?
Right.
Possibly dying down an icy mountain.
One time, a rich friend, I think I was in like 5th grade or something, was like, come skiing with us. I said, heck yeah. I went, and it was actually my roommate, and I have known each other since we were 4. So it was her and then this other girl who took us skiing. And then they were like, let's go. And I looked at them and I said, oh, I'm not going to ski. I'm just going to hang out by the fire.
Also, you literally can't just ski. Do you know how much gear you have to buy to even get on the mountain?
It's classist. It says, if you want to get on this mountain, show me your Chanel.
It's also not made for people with ADD because how am I supposed to remember all these tchotchkes? How many accessories does a person need?
You're like, we don't need
I can barely remember my handbag or an umbrella.
We don't need this. Have you ever, this is a deep cut, seen Frozen, the movie, not the Disney one.
Oh.
The one where you can find the whole movie on TikTok, which I love watching movies on TikTok, which I know is blasphemous. But there is this movie on TikTok where these people go on a ski lift and they get stuck there and they're there all night. People get eaten by wolves. It's really traumatic.
And they don't take that down on TikTok? Like full
they
graphic?
They don't show the wolf eating part.
There's no chewing. There's no actual chewing.
But you hear the sounds. They like cut it up and it's traumatizing.
No.
And so now I'm like, well, now I can't go skiing ever.
Also, like, even if you're good, like, you're still freezing.
And why would you want to do that to yourself?
No, it's a whole thing. My husband's obsessed with it, and
does he try to take you? And
I had to do 3-hour lessons and then lunch and then show him what I learned. But like, my canon event is that I need to. Whenever I say canon event, Chris laughs.
There's a lot of.
I need to show men that like I'm athletic. Like that was my thing.
Like that part of your brain,
I'm like,
will never be
me. He'll love me. So like, I'm doing insane things, and then I like got good at it, and finally was like, I'm gonna check myself down the hill and injure myself. So I literally can't.
And did you?
Yeah.
What was your injury?
My hand got crushed. It was. It was hard to text. I didn't think that I couldn't wipe my own butthole. It's a whole thing. I'll send you the clip. I made content out of it.
Okay.
I had to go down on the whole.
I'm so worried about
toboggan.
you, but
it was a whole thing.
Tell me, I really keep hurting you, and I'm sorry about that.
I want to say
yes.
There's more friends you talked about.
Yes.
Because I feel like you're the same as me where like I'll pull stuff from things I see, but I also will every now and then be like, go deep into like the embarrassing thoughts you have.
Yeah.
Because as a friend, like there's no rules and it is so easy to be cringe. Like so many things, your videos are so great because as they are like super triggering of like things you hate about people, it's girls sending it to their friend and be like, girl, you do that
and
in a fun way.
Yourself.
Or like, this is what I always do to you.
Totally.
I wrote, like, I'm that friend who has no filter. Like, I'll be at the party.
I could see that.
I'm feeling weird.
Yes.
Or, like, I'm feeling nervous.
I'm feeling weird.
I'm not going to detract. I'm going to go harder.
You're going to lean in.
And I'm going to be like, I'm going to ask you a question that you're like, how is that appropriate in any sense of the word at this party?
You're like, I'm bored. You're like, so what's the worst thing that has ever happened to you?
What keeps you up at night?
And I'm like, I love to go to people and go, parents together? Children of divorce?
No, because it's a test where like either that person's not going to fuck with you or you'll be friends for a long time.
Absolutely. It's all about genuine connection. And the only way to genuinely connect with someone is to unburden them of all of their trauma.
I go, your hips, you're looking kind of tight when you're twerking. Do you have unresolved trauma in your hips?
In your hips.
Because I do.
You do. What is your unresolved trauma in your hips?
I had to go to a chiropractor yesterday because of it.
I'm worried about your body, but we can get into that.
I just
at
like
another
all
time.
my tension is in my hips, but I think a lot of
Right.
women are like that.
Mm.
You also said the friend who thinks she's an empath, which is 100% me.
Mhm.
Like I'm the one who's like, sorry, I'm like sensitive because I like feel everything.
Yeah.
Like you guys wouldn't get it. You don't have
I'm just
feelings like
absorbing
I do.
all of the energy.
Yeah, like I need to go ignore people for a week because I had one coffee date.
And no one has ever felt as deeply in their lives as you feel on a daily basis. And that's not your fault.
It's so like good and self-aware, but I remember when I first heard the word empath, I was like, explains everything.
I think that's also such an issue with like the TikTok buzzwords. And it's so funny how it's like we will glom onto any word and go, and that word was made for me. And that word was made for me. And no one has ever been so made for the word empath as I have been.
Have you gotten upset by something someone said and overthought something once? You're an empath.
And that's me. And no one else is like me. But at the same time, like, you know, that's great that people feel, I mean, that's such a cute thing too about
you feel less alone.
You feel less alone. And like, I really do love the little Gen Z girlies on the TikTok. I'm such a boomer is the thing. Like
I was about to say,
I'm a boomer.
I'm millennial, but I identify as Gen Z. You're
same.
a millennial who identifies as boomer, or you're Gen Z who identifies as boomer.
I'm a millennial who like in my heart and soul, I'm very Gen Z. Like I'm a Swiftie. Like
yes.
I've just stopped like shopping at Brandy Melville. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have like a little sister.
I
just stopped. I'll probably go back. I have a little sister. I was a camp counselor.
Yeah.
I was a nanny up until like a year ago.
You have so many of these experiences to pull from that are so fucking relatable.
Thank you.
And I mean that in a compliment.
And you said relatable queen. And by the way, it's so funny. It's so funny to like call someone relatable too.
When I said it, I feel like you didn't like it.
No, I love it. I'm just thinking of that. Do you remember like that Amy Schumer joke? I think it's Amy Schumer where she says,
I was about to talk about Amy Schumer.
That's so,
because I was like, you know how Amy
so
Schumer's
connected.
lost her relatability and we love her unrelatable queen who had to work for it. But you go up to write bits and you're like, you know when you see Bradley Cooper at the Oscars?
You're like, no, we don't know that.
But like,
we don't know that.
Having your experiences of like being in the weeds of New York City, trying to like make friends and date and make enough money for your apartment.
Totally.
Is most girls scrolling on TikTok, I feel like.
Totally. And, you know, I mean, also, I'm like, check your privilege, guys. Like, not to say I'm like the most like, I like went to, and you know, I'm like, I'm from Connecticut. I went to Smith and then I came here. So I'm not exactly like picking myself up from my bootstraps.
Yes.
That being said, like, yes,
you live but also I would say basic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A privileged basic life.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I mean, just for context too, you know, when I came to New York to pursue acting. You know, I came to New York.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
You're the relatability of a non-Nepo baby.
That I think, yes. That I can definitely claim. And you do, like when you are trying to like really, when you are a girly who's like, I'm going to be in Hollywood. And like, that's my whole life. I've looked up to that and have always wanted to act and create and be on television and have my own show and all of these big goals that I continue pursuing every day. But relentlessly. But when you are pursuing that and then you're not a Nepo baby, you're like, my life is so hard. Like you're like, it's just no one has struggled. And I think that's why we're so obsessed with the Nepo baby right now thing too, because we're so validated by it. But we're like, see? Like I have been going through the worst experience humanly possible.
Once you put a name on something, then it makes it a thing.
It so makes it a
Do
thing.
you have any opinion on Ben Platt? I mean, I thought there was more of a story, but basically like clearly his PR was like, we don't want to talk about the Nepo baby stuff. And they did say it, and then he stood up for himself and was like, I'm not talking about it, instead of just being like,
was that when the article came out?
Yeah. Yeah, I think instead of like, yeah, you can tell them I don't want you to ask about that, but you also can like, if it does happen, have an answer that's like not gonna make people upset.
I didn't hear the answer, but I can imagine.
No, he didn't have an answer. He was
didn't
just like,
have
I'm
an
not
answer.
talking about that.
And, it's hard because it's also probably anything. I can understand being in that position, and anything he would say, he probably would be like, that was wrong. That was wrong. Like anything you say.
But you could also just be like, yeah, like I totally understand. Like I did have
and
that
you should,
benefit.
And you should always, I mean, and that's just what we learn about privilege in general, right? Like it doesn't help anyone ever when you don't acknowledge whatever privilege
but you know what's
have.
worse than a unsuccessful NEPA baby? A NEPA baby who does not take advantage of their connections to become a star. And you're like,
absolutely.
it's like a 7-foot person with huge hands who doesn't dunk.
It's like, go dunk. And I will say to this, Ben Platt, incredible voice. Like
so
he's a talent. And the thing is, it is such an incredibly difficult business that this business is all about the sustainability. It's all about the long term, right? Like we're so obsessed with like, oh, it's her moment. It's her moment. It's like, but most working actors, what they want is to have, they don't want a moment, they want a career.
Yeah.
They want to be able to be in every decade of their lives and embodying different roles that they're connecting to when they're those ages.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what, most creatives want. And the reality is if you don't have the talent and the wherewithal for that and the work ethic, even a Nepo baby is not going to have that. So
I would argue like so many Nepo babies are successful because they literally have these incredible genetics. Like Lily Rose Depp is incredible on screen.
Oh my gosh,
and
she's
like
so good.
Johnny Depp is your dad. You like if I was gonna hire someone, I'd want someone with Johnny Depp's talent. Like
and also the education she received as a child about the industry and about like how you have to sustain that energy and that work ethic. I always like to say with, pursuing this stuff, it's like I stole this from my manager, but we're literally not saving lives. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, don't do this. If it's hard, it sucks. Like it's a crazy,
how
hard,
do you deal with
thing.
all the rejection?
She's like,
not something I've experienced.
What's rejection?
But if it did
I've
happen
never
to
experienced it in my life. Hannah was wrong. I'm not a relatable queen. I am the queen of the world. No, everything I feel like, I think that, I grew up, my mom is a playwright.
Oh, cool.
And she is, also was a school teacher. And she taught me a lot about, again, how this is not something you do for funsies. This is something you have to work at. And you're going to mostly experience failure.
But the fact that she did something creative that she loves, because part of me was going to be like, are your parents cool with you going into acting?
My dad is the one who was
kind
more
of a Nepo baby.
I'm not a Nepo baby. My mom says it too. She's like, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to tell New York Times you're a playwright. And she's like, yeah, but don't worry. They won't think you're a Nepo baby because playwrights, it doesn't count. It doesn't count because there's no money in theater, and, I'm from Connecticut and, she's the most brilliant, talented writer in the world, but definitely hasn't received like the level of money she should have for that.
Regardless of money, she hasn't picked up the phone and been like, get her this role.
Oh,
and
no,
been like, of
certainly
course.
certainly not. And so, but at the same time, I've inherited a lot of privilege in the sense of understanding the business through what my mom has taught me. And, I always say too, it's like, wait, what were we saying? Right? Edit this out because I had a good train of thought. But anyways, my point is that my mom, taught me a lot of the rejection thing.
Yeah.
My mom taught me a lot about how you literally have to be prepared for people to not care about you, not see your value as you're stepping into it. So I've always, from the time I'm like, I've been working on my brand from the time I was little. No, I'm kidding. But I always was aware of the level of competition, aware of my own, the things that I lack as a performer. I can't sing, like, just things that maybe would have really given me a leg up and allowed me to get into a Juilliard and like, have taken that path. But I knew that what I was going to be facing was such a big challenge. And so I said, okay, well, who am I? Like, what are the things that I can do that other people can't? Because everyone has that. Everyone has something.
I feel like that's a really logical level of Delulu.
Yes. I'm very like pragmatic.
Like you know what you're good at.
Crazily confident, but also so realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that's worked out for me.
No, because you have to be honest with yourself, like what you need help with, what you need to improve in.
Oh, yes.
To be good.
And I think I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you had an upbringing like this too. But I was brought up in a way where I'd be like, Mom, they're doing this Sweeney Todd. They're doing Sweeney Todd. Mrs. Lovett is my dream role. I went to the callback with like full like makeup, hair, and I can't sing. And I said to my mom, I was like, I want to get Mrs. Lovett. And my mom said, oh, but sweetie, like you can't sing. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's like there are two kinds of people in the world. The kind of people who have a mom who tells them they can sing when they can't.
Yeah.
And the kind who says you can't sing.
My parents were very much of the path where it's like, wow, you're really fucking good at this. Let's do that. Did my mom give me singing lessons? Yes. Did I have a completely different experience there than like when I took tennis lessons? After tennis lessons, the coaches are meeting with the parents. What's our long-term plan? When I sang, they were like, she keeps moving her head in a weird way. And we've never seen this before.
Totally. You're like, great. Thanks for the notes, guys. But hey, that's still like their version of being invested and encouraging you. And I think like, I'm so grateful that I grew up in a way literally where I'm just so aware of the things I'm bad at. Because when you're aware, you have to know the things that you can do or the things that you're like, I could be good at this if I worked at it. And so I think for me, the whole rejection thing is more of, that's kind of always been how I've proceeded into the craft. You know, I went to, you know, women's college and historical women's college because they're, you know, non-gender conforming people there as well. But, you know, and I went there and was like, okay, I don't really feel like I'm getting enough attention in the theater department.
I was gonna say, just attention in general. Like, no one asked me about my day.
Give me attention, which is, I think that every morning, I wake up every morning and I say, I'm not getting enough attention. I'm not getting enough attention. But I wasn't getting enough attention in the theater department, like to satisfy like the hunger I had. And then, you know, I started doing improv and realized that was a space for me that I was maybe even excelling at more and, you know, was like, okay, this is something I can do. You know, I'm going to keep pursuing this because this might be a way, you know, and post-grad to stand out against the millions of other white bond girls out there who also want to be on TV. So
it sounds like you're a doer, which is what I think is like the best. The worst thing you could do is just like paralyze yourself with like all these thoughts of what you're not good enough for, what you might mess up in. But it's like, do it, see how you're doing, and move, and move, and move. Just keep moving, zigzag.
You have to.
And that's why I think you were able to stumble across TikTok because you're one of those people that are open to just like, is this right for me? Is this good for me? If you were like such a perfectionist or like at a young age, people were like, you're too good for TikTok. You should be,
so true.
Like doing movies now. Some people, I think, like it hurts them the fact that they think that they're so good at stuff. Like even comics, a ton of comics never posted clips because they were like, I don't do those stupid clips. I don't do stupid crowd work. And you're like, okay, well, you're not selling tickets either. So you could stay here.
And that's such a lesson too of like, because we've all had like that ugly feeling you're describing. Like, we've all had that, right? Like we've all felt, or like even with the girls in middle school, it's like, well, I don't want to hang out with you anyhow. It's like when you feel excluded from something, when you feel like you're not going to excel or you feel a sense of like, you know, other about something, our automatic reaction is to reject it and say it's stupid.
Or when TikTok first came out, we all were like, oh my God.
Like, oh my God. Like, Gen Z, I don't understand the trends. And then meanwhile, it's like, how do I get viral? And, you know, and I think, and I also do feel creatively, and I wonder if the same is for you, that every time I've ever felt kind of like I've looked at a peer, someone from afar that I look up to, that I go, I need to do what they're doing, and they're doing something that made me go, I don't need to do that, and like had that bitter feeling. I've then been like, okay, actually I'm bitter because I also want to do that, but I'm scared. So instead of like in my brain, like talking shit as if it's that person's fault that I'm scared of something, I'm actually just going to face it and do it. And something, this is like my mom episode. My mom will be happy too because she wants all the credit.
Moms.
But she taught me something that honestly is the thing I feel like every step of the way with my career that I follow, which is when I was in high school, the first time I was auditioning for the play, I was saying to my mom, like, well, can I just like go do things outside of high school and like go do some other regional things? And my mom was like, why would you do that? You have this great opportunity in front of you. It seems like really the only reason you don't want to do it is because you don't want to be uncool in front of like the boys. And she was like, look, if if you care more about what people think of you, and that feeling of embarrassment and shame about what other people think of you is a stronger feeling than the desire to perform and create an act, you don't want to act that badly. And I looked at her and I was like, I do want to act that badly. And I auditioned for the play.
Okay, I'm getting shivers because your mom is a feminist queen.
She's a queen.
Like the concept of decentering men for your life, I talk about it all the time because it really is true. But that's funny because, with tennis, my dad, I remember once, like, I think I was playing against a guy who, because I would train with a lot of guys, and some of the guys were cute, and I think I lost to one of the guys, and he pulled me aside, and he's like, you better not lost him because, like, you were crushing him or something. And I was like, no. And he's like, don't ever let a boy distract you. And I got chills. I never forgot that. Like every now and then a guy would do something and I'd be like, he's fucking distracting me from my shit.
Yeah.
And it would like
from my empire.
From my literal empire. And I'm like
building an empire.
I'm like 24 years old, like just like writing against a wall.
You're like, and this is my empire.
I'm trying to microwave an oatmeal. I'm like, he's distracting me from my empire.
From my work. No, but hilarious, but also so true. And I think,
if you see it in that perspective,
yes.
Because if you could also twist it to the perspective of fuck everything I'm doing. If I could get this guy to like me, that is my empire.
And it's never gonna work out that way anyhow.
Also, the right guy will like you when he sees
Absolutely.
What you've invested into yourself. And I don't mean money or like an empire, just literally like you doing what brings you joy.
Yes. And I think too, that feeling, first of all, great story. And that feeling that you were describing as well, I feel like that's definitely something I tap into with some of those characters you were mentioning, because I think, we're two obviously like, we extroverted, high energy, like career girlies. And, but I'm sure, but it feels like too, we both have, like, we're still human and we both have had those moments of like, well, maybe I'll just like in this moment make myself small to like fit into what we think other people want and like what the male gaze wants.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure as soon as you've had that moment, you move on from it and you go, fuck that. Why was I thinking that? And I think sometimes it's when I'm in those vulnerable moments that I'll think of those ideas for the video and then I'll put that idea out there.
Because if you're getting a strong emotion from something, someone else will too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that like, sometimes, I remember in the beginning I used to get a little bit nervous because like in the very beginning when I think people weren't totally tapped into what I was doing and maybe would just see me randomly, and so things can kind of get taken out of context when someone doesn't know your platform that well. So once in a while I get the like internalized misogyny comment, which of course would like give me a panic attack. Totally. Which I've gotten over that because what I realized too
also,
is—
don't read the comments.
So true. And what I realized too is like, well, no, it's not, for a moment, like what we're describing, it's not about internalized misogyny. It's about confronting that we're not perfect and that patriarchy does make us feel small or make us feel like if I were to make myself small, what benefits could I receive from that? And we all have those moments. And so sometimes it's those moments of like when I'm not being the best version of myself because I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling vulnerable.
And then being self-aware enough to own it. And I do have to say, your content, what makes it so unique is a lot of people will post content that is kind of cool or like making fun of like cool people or like whatever. You literally go into the most cringe-worthy friends where like you don't post that and go like, I kind of wish that was me. Like every now and then I'll pretend I'm like a cool girl.
No one wants to be her.
Yeah, you're posting these girls.
No one wants to be her.
And you like lean in so much.
Thank you.
But like to the point that people are like, this is so raw and real and you're so cringe that it's like art.
It's art.
Cringe art.
Cringe art.
Art cringe.
Cringe is art. Art is cringe.
Because most people wouldn't even
that.
Try to post that because they'd be like embarrassed or whatever. But instead people see it and they don't see a lot of it and they go, holy shit, that is so funny. That reminds me of that night that Jenna was like really upset about that annoying guy. One of my favorite videos you just did was the girl who has a horrible boyfriend. Because we've all been there.
It was my friend's boyfriend, and I forced him. I literally I was like,
he was
you
so
have
good
to be in the video. He was so good.
She basically, everyone's done this where like you've had a boyfriend that you're so excited that he's your boyfriend, but deep down there's so many red flags, and also like he's made it clear he's gonna hate your friends. He doesn't even know your friends. He doesn't want to meet your friends. He doesn't care. But you just want to share him with your friends.
Totally.
They come to visit. he literally doesn't ask one question, doesn't say a word. He's in his phone. You try to have a little cute banter with him. He doesn't reciprocate. We've all had that guy.
And I think too, thank you so much. And let's get into it. I'm like, let's analyze my work. But I think too, I think too, in terms of the vulnerability aspect of that, what's ultimately, to me, at least being in the position of the character, what I find funny about it is also what I find sad about it, which is that, I think we've all been in that position where that validation, if your friends think he sucks, it's almost like they're thinking you can't get someone who doesn't suck. But at the same time, sometimes as girls, we're taught that like securing a man is like I just said girls and women, securing a man is the most important
no, because these guys are always the hot ones. Like he's tall.
Of our lives.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the girls are like more disappointed than ever in you. And you're like, no.
But he's tall. But he's 6'4". And it's important, I think, to just recognize those moments within ourselves where we're not being the best and we're operating out of insecurity.
Because also these girls you show, like there was one girl, it's like she makes all the conversations about her. We've all been there. I literally did it today.
Yes.
So when you do the girl, it's like this is a caricature of like that girl's so much more complex and there's so many other things going on. But we've all been in that mood where sometimes I don't know why, you're like, I need to be fucking heard today.
Yes.
And it's nice to laugh at it and be like, it's not the end of the world to be that girl with the boyfriend who sucks, to be the girl who brags about being an empath. We all have annoying qualities.
Yes.
And we're still lovable.
Absolutely.
And we also can learn and be like, hey,
and we can connect with each other over those qualities. Yes. And we can recognize that it's really okay to not be a perfect person and to, I feel like, I definitely, it's interesting to hear your insights on it because you're saying things that I wouldn't have thought of just putting that out into the world. And I think that
because you don't know, half of it's deliberate and half like even my stuff. I'm like, people will say, or people have a story about you in their head that you don't know, but it's interesting to see how things get like processed by other people. Because I'm looking at through my lens of experience too. Look at us, we're deep as fuck right now.
We're literally
and you guys did not expect that from the beginning,
and you didn't, and because you're a misogynist,
internalized misogyny. She's blonde. I know what you were thinking.
We're wearing all white. We're in Montauk. Get over it. Just because you're jealous doesn't mean you have to hate us. I'm kidding.
What's your level of like depression, anxiety? Are you like both? Are you one or the other?
That goes back to the thing you were saying.
No, that's me at a party.
Let's get right into it. My level is it's high. I mean, I definitely feel like this might sound crazy because I feel like everyone always affiliates sort of being online with like the decrease of their mental health. But I think in a weird way, it's helped my mental health, which I've always struggled with, because I think I just try to have so much gratitude because there's so many years of my life where I felt on the outside and felt I just want to be creative and I want to be able to have an audience of people who can, experience my work and enjoy it. And to me, that's just the greatest feeling in the world. And I know what it's like for so many years to be like depressed, to not have had that. So even on the bad days, I just remind myself, I think like gratitude is always like the best way to avoid bitterness. And I try to, just remind myself of like what I have right now that I would have killed for a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I think like in a way, the online presence stuff has definitely like aided my gratitude, aided my optimism.
And for someone that wants to like express themselves and create, to have people have eyes on it is like such a gift.
It's
like,
such a gift.
Wait, so I can be heard and like my work, like, because you can look at TikTok in two different ways. Like one is like just like, consuming content, comparing yourself, that shit. Or like, oh, I have a vessel to like TikTok to me is my TV show.
Absolutely.
And
we're all watching and we're all loving it.
And I'm just
and we
trying
all
to
feel
keep
so close to
producing
you.
it. Yeah. I feel the same way about you. Literally obsessed. I need to get my nails done after doing this pod.
I feel like I influenced you a little bit.
You're a full-on influencer.
I'm an influencer. Influencer.
Okay, wait. I just wrote some other friends and we're going to play final game.
Yes.
Friend who embodies toxic positivity.
I remember that.
Sorry, toxic
I remember
positivity.
that one.
Because that's me too.
Yeah.
I'm also that friend I'm that friend who will tell people to do, like my friend will be like, should I shave my head? And I'll be like,
yes.
You need to.
You said why haven't you already?
Why haven't you already? I'm literally that friend.
Push someone off a cliff.
As long as I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And but I want them because it'll be for the story. It'll be so funny.
It's
we'll
for the
laugh
plot.
about
You'll
it.
live vicariously
don't
for them.
Ask me, but they know me. I'm the friend. If you need to be hyped up about something that your other friends will be like, oh, don't do it.
Yeah.
You call me.
You call me. Absolutely.
That's
I love that.
I'm that hype girl
That's
for
a really
anything.
good quality queen.
It depends.
I would so much rather have that.
I'm really trying to get my friend Paige to shave her head every day. I'll send her videos and she's like, please stop.
Because I'm like, why are you so
I don't
invested?
have the bone structure for it. And she does.
That's incredible.
Friend who needs the pics from last night. That is so funny. Because when you're like, hey girl.
You never feel more as a woman
out of control.
You could never feel more annoying, more hysterical than when you want the pics from last night. She sends you the photos,
but it's not the photo that you were looking for, and you're like, "Oh my god, crazy! I think I missed one."
Yeah, that's so funny. Actually, and then the thing too is there's such a ticking time clock because if they take 5 days, it's not relevant anymore. It's not relevant anymore. The moment is over.
It's almost embarrassing if you were to post it.
It's embarrassing. It's mortifying.
People saw you on other people's pages.
It's absolutely mortifying.
It is. The friend who always wants to put you onto new things. That's me. But I won't do them. I'll be like, do the roller coaster, do the roller coaster. It'll be so fun.
Why are we
never do it.
You could do it. Why are we constantly trying to sell people on things?
Because I feel if I can't have the thrill, you have the thrill. But it's hypocritical. I'm a hypocrite. I'm
a hypocrite.
Friend who think the world revolves around her, definitely me. But I also surround myself with people who are like that too, where we just bounce off it.
Well, it's like the thing you were saying before, where it's like maybe one day they need their moment and it's all about them, and another day it's all about you. And that's feminism.
Do you know Kat Cohen?
Yes,
amazing, incredible. I had her on the pod,
course.
and we were like, some days you need to be back extra and background character extra energy.
I saw that clip and I loved it.
And I loved it. From 2 main character Leos, I was like, you're so fucking
not
right.
And sometimes too, I also think, I don't know if you feel this way with the internet, the mental health stuff, but sometimes you are like, okay, so much of my life is looking at my own face and thinking about myself, because that's just the nature of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That sometimes you're with friends and you're like, I actually don't want to talk about that, because can you just put something else in my brain that isn't my brand?
Well, yeah, that's
because that's not good.
When I was playing tennis all the time, there were days where it's don't talk about tennis.
Right.
So you have to almost do that with.
You have to compartmentalize.
And also when you hang out with comedians all the time, it's just bit after bit after bit. And then I'm hanging with friends and I'm like, okay, let's get the conversation going. They're like, we're just talking about work. And I'm like, no one's being funny. No one's being funny.
You're like, if we're not laughing, are we living? Are we living?
Also, I'll put pressure on myself. When I'm out, I'm like, these people wanted me here to be, I need to entertain.
Yes.
And then you ever go into a friend group and you're like, I'm different today. I'm mysterious.
Today, I'm an empath.
And
I'm absorbing
for 3
and
minutes
nothing else.
where I'm like, someone says something and I'm like, don't respond. Yeah. You don't have to jump in. You don't have to jump in. And next thing you know.
No, we can't help ourselves.
You're going to do it. The friend that gives boys advice she never follows. That's absolutely me.
I mean, that's who I think
but I give
universal
such
thing.
good advice.
Me too. I'm such a therapist to my friends.
I'm sending the text. I'm that girl.
I'm crafting the text.
I'm crafting the text. And I'm fuck girl energy. I've never cared about a man in my life energy.
My friends get so mad at me because I'll be like, I'm the one to go, oh, if that's all he said to you, don't answer. Don't answer. Don't answer. And then I will villainize any man. I don't care if this man works at a nonprofit. I tell my
friends to break up with dudes
done. I have no patience. I have zero patience.
No, he will do the littlest thing. I mean, I was like that with my dating too, though. Because I was always like, he's distracting me, I'm out.
Yeah.
But for girls, she'll be like, I don't know what I should text him. And I go, is he making you question who you are? We're done. And she's like, no, I just don't know if I should ask him to hang out tonight or not. And I'm like, he's not making you feel safe.
You're like, you're seeing the micro.
And I'll be like, he's a narcissist, clearly. Yeah. And she's like, you're gaslighting
you. He is gaslighting you because he asked you, where do you want to go to dinner?
I care about them so much. And I never want them to feel how I felt.
Yes.
So I'll see one little sign that's possible and I go, look, I'm going to save you from 4 years of torture. Do not respond to this man.
Yes.
Block him. She's like, no, he's in the bathroom. That's why he didn't answer my text. And I'm like, no, he's fucking someone else.
No, he is using you for all that you've got.
She's like, he literally answered and said he's in the shower. I could hear the shower. I'm like, that's creative of him. That's super creative. Okay.
Instilling paranoia.
We're going to do a speed round of the final game.
I'm terrified. Let's go.
7 deadly sins. Good. Okay. I love instilling fear in you.
Do we look like sisters?
But you're doing great. We kind of do. I'm half Jewish.
I'm full, but I still respect you. I'm kidding.
You're like, but I can never marry you.
No, I didn't think you were half Jewish.
I'm
your dad's
25%
side.
Jewish. My dad's side. Yeah, it's like.
But also, first of all, too, like, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with how you feel culturally connected to it.
I'm just like such a New Yorker.
Exactly.
I'm half Italian,
Exactly.
Jewish.
I love that.
It's New York.
Everything, every little smorgasbord and mix is important.
We're schwitzing right now because there's no air conditioning.
It's actually really schwitzing, yeah.
What are you greedy about?
If I'm like out to dinner with my sister.
I love the specific instance.
Why?
If I'm at an Italian restaurant with my sister.
I have so many thoughts that it's like you ask that prompt. I'm like, this one. Okay. If I'm at a restaurant with my sister, I'll get something and she'll go, oh, that looks good. That looks really good. And I will with devil's energy in my eye, look at her and I'll go, can I have some first? And it's like, the other thing too is if it's something, and she knows this, like if it's something that I am passionate about, like chocolate lava cake, like there's certain things.
Like you've been planning for this.
She knows that it's like the biggest moment of my day is that, and she tries to take too much of it. Like it's like we are on a deserted island and it's like Yellow Jackets and I will,
full castaway.
So I can definitely be really greedy about food.
See, because I'm Italian, the way we show love is food. So I could I'll give you my whole chicken parmesan if it'll make you happy. But my husband is Irish. They don't have a good history with food. And
we don't either.
I will just go grab something and he'll be like, oh, you're just taking my whole fucking piece of toast?
He's like, you're stealing my identity.
I'm like, babe, I'll give you mine. He goes, I don't want yours. That's why I ordered mine.
Also, what you just said, I will never not think of you as literally a saint. Like you would give someone your entire chicken parm. Sainthood.
But I do have to say, my dad is Jewish, and when I was younger, I ordered flounder, and he ordered lobster at this seafood shack where you should order lobster. And I was looking at him, and I was 8 or something, and I was like, I want the lobster. I don't know what look my mom gave him. Somehow I got the lobster. I have not lived it down to this day.
He's so mad
He'll bring up he'll be like, remember when I gave you my fucking lobster?
He's like, forget the fact that I gave you life. I gave you my lobster.
I'll do something now and be like, are we good with the lobster thing yet? And he's like, nope.
He said no. Men experience trauma too.
Fried dried flounder while you dipped, and you were 8. You didn't even know what it was.
Oh yeah. You probably had 2 bites of it. Yeah. You ruined his life.
He's like, this
in one fell swoop.
Who are you envious of?
I know this is sins, but I'm going to use the word envy in a more kind of revering,
you can.
Inspiring way.
Let me speak to the devil. He says okay.
Is that okay with him?
Yeah, he's okay.
Tell him we're getting lunch next week. I'm envious of people like Shonda Rhimes. I'm envious of Mindy Kaling. I'm envious in a positive way. Quinta.
People don't talk enough about the level of accomplishment that these women have. If they were men, the way that there'd be statues.
And it's also and I think besides the fact that those are just 3 people that come to mind to me right now who are incredible. And, I think that for me, when I use the word envy with them, it's because I look at them and I'm like, oh, you get to just, I know not to say they don't experience their own difficulty, but you get to be like, I have this idea. I want to build this world. And then you get to build a whole world and have a whole set and have actors and everyone put together with this idea that you had in your brain. I think I'm envious of the experience of having that in your brain and being able to create a world and have a TV show. So I'm envious of those people.
I love
in a
that
positive
so much.
way where
Yes.
I love them and I will hopefully try to follow in their
also the
footsteps.
better they do, the more possibilities it is for
Absolutely.
everyone else. Absolutely. To be wow, you
and they
can
do it the right
that.
way too.
So amazing. What are you gluttonous about? As in, what do you overindulge in?
Pinkberry.
I love it. Do you like the tart?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all about the tart.
Sisters. I like
what
to
are
do.
Your toppings?
So this is what I like to do. I'll do tart. I'm very plain Jane. I'll do tart, and then I like to I have 2 categories of toppings. So I'll do my fruity toppings, right? The strawberry, kiwi, banana, and then gummy bears, which I think fits into that category, and Captain Crunch I feel fits into that category.
Yes.
And then I'll do my chocolatey toppings, the cookie dough bites, Oreos, things like that. So it's almost like I'm having a dual experience.
So you do it together?
No, I do it separately. So I'll do the fruit and then I eat the toppings of the fruit and then I move on. Because to me, I don't like to mix them because to me, the chocolatey thing is a different thing. The chocolatey thing is what
But
you have
this
at
is
the
all
end.
in one experience.
In one experience.
So you go back up and ask for more.
Hence the gluttonous thing. Oh no, I seamless it.
So you eat it one and then you eat the other.
So I seamless or Grubhub, whatever, shout out, Pinkberry. And I get all these toppings. And I take the top, and they package it really nicely. And I take the toppings that are the fruity ones and I put them on and I eat that. And then I still have like half of the froyo. And then so it's almost as if I'm having 2 froyos.
That's genius. Never been done before.
Innovative. Women can have it all.
The Mindy Kaling of froyo.
Yes.
I do have to say, I weirdly do mango and mochi.
Oh, I like that.
It's like my thing.
And I like that. And I respect it.
It's the vibe. Because tart is so fresh, but I don't want too much fruit because I don't want to actually be healthy.
Never.
No. When was the last time you experienced extreme wrath or anger?
Last week, I went to a workout class in Connecticut. I won't name names. And it was Taylor Swift themed.
Mm-hmm.
And then like halfway through the class, their Taylor Swift playlist like ended. Like it wasn't a playlist. It was one of those like really long like mixes where like it's like hyped up like mixes. And it was an excellent mix.
Yeah.
They were like
but it was like 22 minutes.
Right. It was like clearly like a 25-minute thing for like a 50-minute class. And when it ran out, the instructor went, oh. And then just kept going. And I thought, this is a conspiracy against Miss Swift.
And then she played non-Taylor Swift.
I would have preferred
Did you get your money back?
Start it over.
Redo
play it again. Put it on loop.
Who did she put on?
It was just like
Harry Styles?
Top 40.
Top 40.
I said, I came
Were
here
Were you trying to make eye contact
I looked
the whole
around
time
everyone.
for other people?
I said, are we experiencing the same reality right now? No one cared.
You're like, I dare her to come at me for technique.
No one cared.
Because I'll be like, sorry, it's hard to focus. And I've been lied to.
I've been lied to. Gaslit. Girl boss gaslit.
I do have to say, workout classes bring out so many emotions.
So many emotions.
Because not only are you working out, which is triggering in itself, but like you're in this social situation where like when they're like, find a partner,
don't do that.
Every horrible thing that's ever happened to me with women in my life
was find a partner. Team up.
Nothing good has ever happened after someone said find a partner. Afterwards, you know the hierarchy of the class and you know that like no one likes you.
No one likes you. And when you're in a workout class, you are just automatically mortified.
Yeah.
You're just everything you do, you take a sip of water and you're like, that was so cringe.
That was so embarrassing.
This is the most embarrassing moment
she'll be like, everyone
life.
get your towels. And you're like, how do I bend to like.
Everyone is looking at me. And the reality is no one cares about you. But
everyone is worrying about themselves. When they say find a partner,
mortified.
It feels like everyone's avoiding me. Like everyone has been like, not that girl,
dodgeball.
not that girl, not that girl, not that girl.
You're like, no one wants to pick me.
And that's why therapy is doing so well right now because of group exercise classes. The therapists are thriving.
Absolutely.
At least someone's thriving.
Absolutely.
When was the last time you were a lazy piece of shit?
Yesterday.
What's your like average day look like?
I mean, I was hungover yesterday because I'm a cool girl in the city. I drink alcohol. So on a day like that, I just like got Pinkberry and sometimes too, I'm so like my brain is crazy and I'm so on all the time that I think it's good to have those days where you're like, I'm actually going to accomplish nothing.
Do you have pressure? Because as an entrepreneur, do you set?
She said it. Entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur,
she said it.
Entrepreneurista.
Mm-hmm.
Do you say to yourself, I want to do this number of videos a week? Do I want to write? Like, do you have any? Because creativity is hard with that. It's not
really
like
hard.
Just go to the gym and work it out. It's like it either comes or does. Like writing new jokes for me is like I don't have a process.
I hate writing. It's so hard and annoying. And then you're just alone. And then you're just sitting
there. And then people want to have like
alone.
writing partner meetings, and I'm like, I get more anxiety thinking of jokes when now I have a person stare at me, being like, think of the
being
joke.
like, deliver, Hannah. You're like, I definitely am self-motivated, but I again, back to the mental health stuff thing, I think it's important too. It's like if I feel like I posted a lot in the past few days. I had a comedy show this weekend. You know, I was with friends, so I was able to milk them and make them take
Mhm.
videos of me. Love you, friends. I'll pay
Mhm.
you back one day.
Mhm.
And so I felt really good. Like I've been posting a lot lately. So now it's like, okay, I can like take a minute. So it's less of like an everyday schedule,
It
more of
comes
like,
in waves.
am I being active? And then I have my goals that are separate from TikTok and have to do with script writing and things
Mhm.
like that. My own personal projects, that I, will put myself on a schedule for those as well.
Mhm.
But, then some days you have those days where you're like, I'm doing nothing with my life. Like,
Yeah.
that's just, I feel like normal.
Yes, it's totally normal. And also,
Yeah.
like, you can force yourself to be creative all the time, but I've done it where I'm like, I need to write jokes, and I'll write like 10 shit
Because
jokes.
it's,
I'll go out
yeah.
at night, try them, and be like, that was a waste of time. I forced it. I hate all of them.
And probably when you go out and you're with your friends and you're turning your brain off and then someone is saying something, that's what's actually sparking your good material.
You're so fucking right.
So actually, socializing is work when you're creative. Everything
Write
is
it
work.
off.
Everything's a write-off.
Write it off. Write it off.
Everything's a write-off.
Finally, when was the last time you lusted over someone? So do you have a celebrity crush? Are we crushing anyone right now? Are you single? What's going on?
I'm single and thriving. I lust all the time. I mean, my new thing right now is like, you must lust. Like if you're
Yeah.
single, like I look at like all my friends, it's like I feel like we're again so taught like that this time in our lives, it's so important to like find the person and we're just living for that. But
you have your whole life to sit on the couch.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think like I feel like I'm really embracing the importance of the crush. Have as many crushes as possible, lust away, because that's what life is about. Sliv.
No, it's so true. Because the one thing as a married woman, you don't.
I can't believe you're married.
I know it's so off brand for me, but you
You
don't
sounded
experience
so rich
that.
when you said that.
No, I know. I literally
immediately
was walking
your net worth
in the
went
Hamptons,
up.
and I was like, I'm a
Married woman in the Hamptons.
Wife
No, that's
right
the
now.
craziest thing. I'm freaking out. But continue.
But so that's something I have to fight every day.
Yeah.
Final question.
We'll never stop talking.
We won't stop.
These girls.
What advice would you give to the little devils who are listening on how to cope with your hell when you're going through it, when you're in your darkest time, when you're having those fucking days or months or years? How do you get through it?
Well, not to minimize people's experiences, but speaking only from my own experience, I mean, I find that I think it goes back to the like being a doer thing. I think in your darkest moments, I think that's something again, my own experience, I think something I have learned, especially in the past few years with the internet stuff, is, no one's gonna make you feel better about things. You're only really gonna feel better about things when you feel that you have things that are your own. And that doesn't mean like, oh, just live life separate from everyone else. And we need people, we need community, but you have to, have your own thing, for me, that was content. I'm not saying I'm like the key to life is go on TikTok. No, but for me, I joke about it, but for me, there is a huge part of what I'm doing that I'm like, that's my thing. Like that's the thing that I have. And even when I'm not feeling great, I think when you know that there is something that no one can take away from you, you're like, okay, I'm not feeling it right now, but I know that when I'm back to myself, I'm going to give myself a minute. And when I'm back to feeling in my head again, I'm going to keep putting that energy into myself and also into the people who I love, who are in my life, who deserve that energy from me, and try to and also too, I think something I tell myself too is like, you don't have to be like the happiest. Not every moment of your life has to be the most amazing time.
Yeah.
And,
they say
right?
like half your life is happy and half is like struggling with shit. That's just called existing.
Right. And I think we have so much pressure on ourselves to, especially with the internet, that, every moment has to be cinematic.
And whenever you look at your phone, someone's having like the best moment they've ever had.
Totally.
So you're like, oh no, what's going on with my moments?
I saw someone like tweet about me. Sorry guys, I look at everything. I love you all. And saying like, I just want to live this life of like being able to be out on the street every night wearing like a fabulous maxi dress. Shout out to that person who tweeted that. And I had a moment reading that where I was like, it's interesting because it's not like I'm always that, right? Like there's plenty of moments where I'm not doing something exciting. And it's just, that's what it looks like online because
Also,
those are the moments I film.
Like that, who knows what got you to that point in
Right.
that day, and you could be
I
having
could
the
be
worst fucking
devastated
day.
that day, right? And so I think, you know, it's obviously, I mean, I know that's what everyone says, but it's important to just, and also just to be okay with being in the moment of your own life and finding the joy in that. Like, it's like sometimes you might feel competitive with someone and they're off like at a movie premiere and you're like, I'm there, and I'm like here, but then you're like, okay, but why is where I am not as valuable? Like, look at the valuable in where I am. Like, I'm with my nephew. I'm with my family. I'm with friends who love me. So I think it's the gratitude thing that and again, I'm not trying to say I'm perfect because I'm very
I do have to say
flawed.
you are very wise.
Thank you.
Definitely not perfect, but very wise.
So I'm so wise that it's okay that there's so many things wrong with me because I'm aware of them.
But like it's true once you can change the narrative in your head of what success is, because people can be so successful and still think they're failures because of what they've decided it is in their head
and what they think is important in life, which isn't success.
And then you see the people who get what they want, and then all they complain about is I want to have like remember when Taylor Swift, all things come back to Taylor. I remember she like in her documentary she like won like 100 Grammys and she was like, and I had no one to be happy about it with. Like I had my mom and she was like, but I had no one that I could call and be like,
right. It's
cool?
Not like it's like a switch turns on and she's like, and now I'm happy and now I'm satisfied.
But like what she in that moment, she wanted to be sitting at home with a friend or a significant other and her cat and just like that's what she wanted.
Right.
So
there's value in that, but we devalue that, especially with like the age of everyone wanting to be a celebrity.
I also like to say that there's greatness everywhere. Like some would say this conversation right now was great.
This is greatness.
High quality.
This is greatness.
But yeah, did we win an Oscar for it? No.
Should we?
No.
Yes.
But like, because I was, as a tennis player, I was like, no, I can't be a champion. And someone was like, no, like at the pickleball court this morning, something great happened. And like, there's beautiful moments happening everywhere if you see them.
Absolutely.
Sabrina, where can people follow you and all your beautiful moments?
Girl.
Give me the tea.
My name is Sabrina Brier. I am on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
I was about to say.
And Threads. Don't forget about Threads, you guys. And I also perform comedy and I post about it on my Instagram typically.
Yes.
And, so follow that and come to a show and try to laugh and
is it improv?
Say hi. I've been doing stand up, but not
so
not like you, queen.
No,
not like a girl. No, this is the queen.
No, that's very exciting.
This is the queen, and I want to also come to your show.
Oh my god, I would love. I'd love to come to your show.
Oh my god.
I also because I've never done improv, but I love watching it.
But
I mean, we not do improv today.
Let's start an improv team right now.
It's super
You've
competitive.
Already started.
We have a name. It's called the Lucky Seven.
You now need If you want to join our improv troupe, we are accepting
no one.
Let's do it. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Only NEPA babies can apply.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to hell. Like, subscribe. It's going to be on YouTube. Check it out. Yes. Bye, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye. That was awesome.
That was so good.